I'm Mark Bell, and in this video we're going to talk about alcohol, talk about some booze, and we're also going to talk about can you lose weight and still hit PRs, because I think that's something that's heavily on people's mind. They want to get in better shape, but sometimes they're like, not at the sacrifice of lifting like a weenie. I'll start out first by talking about dropping weight and still being able to hit PRs. Normally what happens is it all has to do with the amount of weight that you lose. If you weigh 350 pounds and you lose 20 pounds, you know, that's like throwing a chair off the Titanic. It's not going to have a large impact, right? That's not that much weight. But if you only weigh 100 pounds and you lost 20 pounds, that's a lot. That's a significant amount of your body mass, and you're not, especially only weighing 80 pounds, you're not going to feel very good, right? If you weigh, you know, let's say you weigh 200 pounds or you weigh 150 pounds, you start to lose anything over about 10 pounds, 15 pounds sometimes for some of the guys that are bigger, some of the guys are maybe more my size. If you're 300 pounds, you lose anything more than like 20 pounds, it starts to be a pretty good amount of weight, okay? For the girls usually weigh a little less, a little shorter, things of that nature. And so for girls, a lot of times they'll be, you know, 10 pounds, 6 pounds can really start to make a big difference on these smaller framed people. But in general, if you're just a smaller framed person, you losing 10, 20 pounds, it's going to affect you quite a bit. What I've noticed personally is that normally there's not really a huge change because you really don't lose that much weight in the beginning. So let's say that you're dieting for, let's just say, a month, and you lost 5 pounds. Well, a little bit of that weight's probably water, some of the weight's probably fat, but it's probably not really throwing your leverages for a loop. Well, in month number 2, let's say you lose another 4 or 5 pounds. Now we're talking about 8 to 10 pounds. Now you're going to start to notice that it's a little bit tougher to get those PRs. It's a little bit harder. You still might be in line for some. Now, if you're untrained to begin with, then all the PRs in the world are lined up right in front of you regardless of your progress with weight loss, because everything's still kind of new to you and you'll probably still continue to make progress. The same would be true as if you were out of the gym for a really long time. So if you're out of the gym for 5 years, now you're just getting back into the gym and you're like, yeah, I lost 20 pounds and put 50 pounds on my bench. Well, those things are fairly normal for somebody who's, it's still extraordinary, but those things are fairly normal for people that are new. For those of you that are losing weight, you should be aware of the fact that you can't get like leaner and more muscular and stronger all at the same time forever. These things can happen, they will happen. Sometimes they're a byproduct of really lining everything up just 100% correctly, but for the most part, your luck will run out at a certain point. If you go from 15% body fat down to 8% body fat in your pursuit to cut your body weight, cut your body fat nearly in half, your strength will probably start to swing down at some point. There's always exceptions to the rules, there's exceptions to every rule, but having like bigger arms and bigger legs, it just helps with leverages like during strength training. So if you have like, if you've got 20-inch arms and 18-inch forearm, well, it makes bench pressing 500 pounds, it makes it really easy. It makes it really simple because you have a lot of great leverage, and your bones and your ligaments and your tendons aren't just taking the brunt of everything. Your whole body's taking the brunt of everything, and you get to utilize your whole body, and your body becomes like a machine, and you have a lot of great leverage. But as soon as you start to lose that weight, everything starts to feel different. Even the way your belt fits you feels different. The way that you put your belt on for training, for hitting up some big deadlifts, it's like all of a sudden the belt doesn't do anything anymore. You're like, what happened? I used to get like 30 to 50 pounds out of this belt, and now it does 0 for me. It feels like you're getting bent right in half every time you go to do a heavy deadlift. So keep that in mind. And also the particular lift matters. So some people might say, is it possible to get stronger while losing body fat, while losing weight? And yes, the answer is times 1,000. The answer is yes, because you could get stronger with your body weight movements. You could potentially be more explosive. You might get PRs on your box jump. You might get PRs on how fast you can run. You might get PRs on your mile run. You might get PRs on pull-ups. You're going to get PRs on push-ups, body weight squats. Maybe front squats are now easier. Maybe deadlifts are now easier. So I think people are just always looking at like a couple of lifts and like, man, I got weak as hell when I tried that keto diet. And it's like, well, your bench press went down 10 pounds, you know, or you started missing a rep or two on your bench press or on your squat, but everything else was pretty good. So just hang in there too. So the other thing I learned is that this is always going to be a battle of attrition, and this is a battle of how long can you last. And this is part of what I talk about often, is being made out of something different than the rest of everybody else. If you can simply outlast other people, then you're going to win. If you can simply hang in there longer than other people, then you're going to win. If you can be consistent and you can be constant with the things that you love to do, if you're doing it 5 years from now, if you're doing it 10 years from now, doing it for 15 years from now, you're going to always be able to be a lot better than the person next to you. You're going to always be a lot better than yourself even. You're going to be able to beat your former self time and time again if you just commit yourself. You have a commitment to excellence, and you are committed to the fact that all this stuff takes a long time. As it pertains to time, it's going to take time for you to transform your body and for you to transform your strength. So if you were to, let's just use a scenario, let's say you weigh 220 and now you weigh 180. Okay, you figured out how to lose weight. You did a great job with that. And you're working out and you're exercising, and you notice that your bench took a huge hit, your squat took a huge hit, your deadlift took a huge hit, and you want to compete and you want to get back on the platform. Well, now you're in a completely different weight class, which that's great, because now the weight that you lost is now matching up with whomever else is going to be in your weight class, and you're being judged by your strength in comparison to your weight. So it's not like you may not be as strong as you used to be, but over time you're going to be able to regain that strength, and that's what you need to know. So can you lose weight and gain strength simultaneously? Most of the people I know that tell you that you can, they usually sell programming, and they usually sell diet programs as well. I don't want to tell you that you can't do certain things, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in telling you that you can't. It's just very, very difficult to lose a significant amount of body weight and to gain strength simultaneously. Your best bet is going to be to lose weight and not worry about your strength as much for a while. When I say a while, maybe it's like 6 months. Maybe it's like a year. But if you lost 40 pounds, you went from 220 down to 180 pounds, it's going to take you a while to regain that strength. Maybe just don't worry about it for a while. Have your training be a little different for a bit, and then maybe 6 months down the road, you start powerlifting, you start trying to rebuild that strength again. And also too, one last thing to kind of wrap this part up. So part of the reason why you have leverage is just due to pure size. So you could lose body fat. You could lose body fat from your love handles, back fat. You could lose body fat from some of these areas, but you can also puff these guys up and make some of these other areas a little bit bigger where you can have muscle, right? So if we can make these areas bigger over a period of time, so the 180 that you weigh right now coming down from 220, it might be a little smaller than the 180 that you're going to be 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. You might just have acquired a little extra muscle mass. Maybe you weigh a little, maybe you regain a little bit of weight and you find your sweet spot for about how much you should weigh in accordance to the type of weights that you want to lift. But yeah, this idea that you're going to be able to do both simultaneously, your luck's going to run out. You're not going to be able to do it for a very long time, most likely. And then most of the time I've seen people, they're trying to hustle you on a program that they have. Lastly, I would be failing here if I didn't mention that these things can also be done with steroids, with anabolic steroids, with PEDs. Anything's possible, kids. I'm kidding, of course, but steroids do change the game. They make everything a little bit different. So again, when you see somebody who's like, hey, I went from 275 down to 200 and I didn't lose an ounce of strength, and they're completely shredded and there's veins everywhere, they might not be sharing with you the whole story. So just be aware that there's that side of things as well. All right, so now to more funnerous stuff. We're going to talk about booze. We're going to talk about alcohol. Now, when I talk about alcohol, I'm going to have to kind of start out by giving you a little bit of a serious message and a serious talk. Is I think a lot of people struggle with alcohol a lot more than they think. And I think for a lot of people, I think for a lot of you, it would be great for you to examine your struggles with alcohol, it'd be great for you to have a practice of seeing how many days in a row can I go without alcohol. And then also it'd be a great idea to have a conversation with yourself about, why do I think I need it? And it might be hard for you to say the word need, because you might not even be willing to accept the fact that you need it. But if you need it, you need it. It's okay to admit it, but you want to question why you need it. What's it for? Is it to escape? Is it to escape reality? Is it to get out of this world for a little bit? Is it to deal with the stress of having children? Is it to deal... There's other people that have children that don't drink. Is it to deal with the stress of your job? There's other people that have jobs that are probably more stressful than yours that don't drink. You shouldn't have to drink. I'm not trying to beat anybody up, make anybody feel bad, but drugs and alcohol run pretty thick through my family, and so it's something I take very seriously. Now, having said that, I love to have a drink here and there. I love to have some alcohol. I love to have some wine with my wife. I'm probably gonna have a few glasses of wine tonight. We're going to a friend's barbecue. Our friend always has great wine, and I'll probably have a couple. For me, sometimes it just kind of enhances the experience, and so I have to kind of have some sort of consideration for that. Also, going into it though, I need to kind of know about it. I need to know, for today I've been fasting most of the day. Right when I get home, I'll probably eat, knowing that I'm going to a barbecue, but knowing that I'm going to have alcohol. I'm going to eat before I go, so that I had some food in my stomach, so that the alcohol doesn't absolutely annihilate me. And then secondly, you never know what you're going to get when you go over somebody else's house, so I want to make sure I get the most nutritious foods for myself. The other part of that is just a trick of like slamming myself with a good amount of protein before I go anywhere. So if I do make bad decisions, I'm going to do so in a less damaging way, because you can only eat so much after you already ate your protein requirements for the day, or got some of them out of your system anyway. Can you drink and can you get leaner? Yeah, you can drink and get leaner. You can drink and get in good shape. You can drink and be a great power lifter. The question is it optimal? Is it moving you forward? There's cases, I think that you can make an excuse, and you can make a case for, hey, this helped propel me forward because it's kind of fun. I can get on board with that. I can say, okay, that sounds logical. How often do you think you're going to drink? And if you said 4 or 5 days a week, then I'd say, well, I think that's going to start to interfere with your training at some point. And most likely it probably will, if we're being reasonable. But if you just wanted to drink once or twice a week, I don't see that being a huge detriment. Now, it could be a huge detriment, because it could be a trigger for you that once you have a couple drinks, once you're inebriated, you're maybe now starting to think of different foods, and maybe you're going to get into a habit of eating some things that you shouldn't be eating. So that's going to have to be consideration. Is it going to change your taste buds at all? For me, it kind of flips my taste buds inside out, and then I just feel like eating all kinds of junk. I want to eat candy, I want to eat ice cream. And you get the case of the F-its, as I've pointed out before. You get a case of the F-its going on when it comes to drinking. When you have a couple drinks, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to just do this. And you get a case of the F-its in the wrong direction. When we have the F-its, we want those to be in a positive direction. We want that to be towards, fuck it, screw it, I'm going to do another set. Screw it, I'm going to do another rep. Screw it, I'm going to put a little bit more weight on the bar. We want it to be towards the positive. Screw it, I'm just going to read a little bit more. Screw it, I'm just going to learn a little bit more. Screw it, I'm just going to listen to one more episode of this podcast because I want to learn more about this. That's where you want to have that in your life. You don't want to have that in your life with, screw it, I'm just going to sleep with this person. You don't want to have it with too many different things in your life, because it could be a slippery slope. You could be sliding downhill, right? But in all seriousness, yes, you can have some alcohol and you can get in good shape. It also may require you to be more strict on other days, which that might be inconvenient, and you might just find that to be less than optimal and less than desirable, and it might not be worth it to you in the long run. It might just be too much of a hassle. I've found that to be true for myself, where I'm like, yeah, I could probably have a cheat meal here and there, but then the cheat meal, like what it costs me and what I have to do the next day and stuff, sometimes I'm just like, it's not even worth it. The fact that the cheat meal just kind of, it showed me what those foods taste like again, and it got me excited about those foods, and now I'm unexcited about the stuff that I'm supposed to eat. So again, it kind of flips my taste buds inside out. But there you have it. You know, if you want to get lean and get jacked and get strong with some alcohol, I don't see any problem with having some here and there. I do suggest that you examine and you look into it. When I did the carnivore diet in January, and when I threw out the carnivore challenge for the whole month to you guys, I also told you guys that I wasn't going to eat cheese, and I also told you guys I wasn't going to drink. Out of all the things I've done and all the things I've said on this channel, out of all the things I've shared with you guys, that had one of the bigger impacts that I've ever seen, with so many people telling me that they stopped drinking. They cut their addiction out just from a simple thing that I mentioned as being part of a challenge with a diet. So I'm going to always encourage you guys to examine why you drink. I'm going to always encourage you guys to just get rid of it completely. Do you really need it? Is it really going to be something that moves you forward? Is it really going to be that helpful to you? I personally don't think that I have an issue with drinking, but maybe I do. I don't know. I mean, I can go days, I can go weeks, I can go months without drinking, and it just doesn't bother me whatsoever. But maybe it does for you. Maybe it's difficult for you, and maybe it'd be a good idea for you to issue another challenge to yourself. When I issued that challenge for the month to tell people not to drink, not to eat cheese, and to only eat meat, a lot of people found the not drinking part to be the best part of the whole thing. And I got so many people commenting in the comment section. So many people were like, listen, I don't know if you even were trying to help people who are addicted, but I got off drugs and I got off alcohol just because of that little suggestion that you threw into that carnivore challenge. And that means a lot to me. That's really special. So maybe if I relay the message once again, maybe you can take even just the rest of this month, take the rest of July, and see if you can make it to the end of the month and see how you're doing, see how you feel. There's not a scenario where I can think of where alcohol is really helpful or beneficial. Just making sure that's true. Yeah, I don't think it has. There could be some research and some studies done to show that it may have some health benefits here and there, certain things. It may do certain things to the mind, but in terms of your fitness, if it had a place to drink wine, like people always talk about drinking wine being good for your blood vessels in your heart and all these different things. But I have some friends who are real psychopaths when it comes to their health. And if it was that potent for your health, and if it really was something good for your health, we see less people using it as an excuse to help along your health. And we'd see more of my crazy friends who are really into health. You'd see them leaning towards having glasses of wine here and there. I don't think it's helpful really in any way. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you all later.